we're back. Game number 2 of this best of 3. Our first of 3 best of 3s on the night, as a matter of fact. Vici Gaming taking on TongFu. TongFu came out up against a very team fight-oriented Vici Gaming squad in Game 1 and really just picked it apart. No other way to say it. There was some misplays coming out of Vici, some struggles on the part of ROTK, really not playing the most effective clockwork, missing some hooks, not really in the best positions a lot of the time, and Vici really under the gun to try and get things back together. They're sitting at 1-1 currently in the D2L standings, do not want to slide down to a sub-500 record. TongFu, in the meantime, the other side of the coin, sitting atop the standings, could stand to take a loss here and not lose that much ground. But if they can notch another win, they're really going to put themselves in a great position as we arc through this Eastern Division and get closer and closer to playoff time as this second weekend of play gets underway. I'm your host, Aaron A.C. Chambers, joined by Ben Merlini Wu. And taking a look at the draft composition so far, Merlini, we see Naga and Dragon Knight picked up for Vici. And then you look at the bans for TongFu. A lot of team fight heroes banned out there. The Timber, the Elder Titan, and the Bat Rider. Looks like TongFu with the Nyx and the Weaver really just wants to play a surgical style.
Yeah, definitely something probably like last game. We see Vici ban out 2 of the heroes that were used by TongFu. I'm most surprised that they actually banned out Kunkka. And they also picked up Dragon Knight in the second pick. Dragon Knight is like decent, but I don't think that Vici can beat TongFu at the like split push out farm kind of game. I think TongFu has much, their players are better suited for those. I think Zoe in particular is an excellent farmer and split pusher at the same time. So Vici, I'm not exactly sure what sort of strategy they should try and run. Probably a 5-man with like some better late game. Like Weaver just didn't have an impact on the last game as much as we harped on ROTK. The Weaver also just died. I don't really think it was his fault though. I think it was more the hero. I think if they had a hero that just like can get BKB and still do a lot of damage, such as Alchemist or any of the heroes that TongFu had, actually Alchemist, Troll, or Spearbreaker, then that would go a long way for them. But looks like they will rely on the clockwork again from Vici. I mean, ROTK has played the hero a lot, and I've seen some phenomenal clockwork play out of him. He's just a little bit inconsistent as a player, though.
Sometimes just have an off night, and ROTK is going to get a second shot and a chance for redemption. Probably going to be on the clockwork here yet again. And it's worth mentioning that, I mean, the Enigma pickup, that's interesting in its own right. We'll talk a bit about that. But Dragon Knight, Naga, and Clockwork, all 3 can play in a variety of positions, can play mid. Clock can go to the off lane. Dragon Knight, I mean, Naga Siren has really kind of settled into that position as a support hero for most teams, with Dragon Knight being predominantly run as a mid and Clock as an off lane. So that wouldn't be that surprising, especially seeing the Enigma pick up, and really a waste to put him anywhere but in the jungle just because his jungle speed is so big. But TongFu adding the Chin to their lineup now, that's interesting to me. Generally speaking, you see a Chin pick up, it's a guns forward kind of a lineup that's going to be coming out from them. There's a lot you can do with him. You can roam the Chin early and look to make ganks happen, so on and so forth, and that's certainly going to be important, especially if it is a mid Dragon Knight who is so susceptible to any kind of movement from the side lanes. But with TongFu, I thought with the Nyx Assassin and the Weaver, it'd be more of a surgical style, more of a move around the map, cut things up, allow the Alchemist time to farm. But I think they're going to be wanting to get out and fight much earlier. Would not be surprised at all to see this Alchemist perhaps go with a much more offensive build instead of a Max Greevil's Greed build, depending on what kind of pressure he's going to be under, if any at all.
Yeah, the Chen just gives her give their lineup a lot more flexibility in the early game. They can try and move around a little bit more, and they have a little bit more anti-push and just control. Enigma, I think, will actually be played by ROTK. His Enigma's pretty darn good. So TongFu with like a half-push strategy with Chen and Beastmaster, but definitely more early game. But they do have sufficient late game, too. They have Weaver, Alchemist, and even if they fall behind on items, they have Inner Beast to fall back on for that mass attack speed. So TongFu with some decent synergy there. Vici, on the other hand, they have the Naga Siren Enigma Wombo combo that was a big hit at TI2, but really hasn't seen too much effectiveness since then. Darkseer actually banned out by Vici. I thought that they could use that themselves. It would make their lanes a little bit awkward, but they can always run Naga Siren as a carry. I'm surprised that teams aren't experimenting more with Naga Siren.
Yeah.
I mean, she was a carry before in her first role, and then sometimes as a solo mid, and now she's almost exclusively support. So I think it really goes wonders, like, or tells wonders about the hero that it can just be so flexible as a hero. But I would encourage more teams to just put her in the safe lane sometimes and just carry her away. She is a beast with Diffusal, Mantisile, and whatnot, and Ice goes Radiance on her sometimes. So Vici going with a more greedy trap with the Shadow Fiend in the middle lane.
No, it looks like with 2-2 running it and Super going on the Dragon Knight. Yeah, and, you know, that's one of those things. I've had a lot of conversations about this hero with a variety of players from EG and Na'Vi, and in particular Puppy when I was doing some casting with him looking back towards the earlier part of this year and on even further back into the tail end of 2012. When it comes to Shadow Fiend, there's a lot of mixed feelings on the idea of running him as a tri-lane farmer with 2 supports to protect him, which is what it looks like this will most likely be with Enigma in the jungle and, of course, the Naga running the hard support. But, he's a hero who needs levels. He needs to be left to his own devices. Even if he does end up getting a lot of experience and, the supports aren't sapping too much away from him, even losing a little bit can really set him back. And he's one of those heroes that's really easy to derail if you get ahead of him. He can flash farm like all hell, but he is so easy to gank. He has absolutely no escape mechanism until he has a Shadow Blade, and even then, once the Shadow Blade comes out, the other team will be carrying dust and sentries and whatever else is needed. It's just very risky to pick a Shadow Fiend and run him in this position and risk him getting behind if there is any action in this bottom lane that ends up with him dying once or twice unnecessarily. Speaking of, we might have a death if they're able to catch up with him. TongFu has moved 5 down here, only 4 standing from Vici at the moment. Zoe is yet to place a point. We'll see if he wants to. Yep, Unstable Concoction will be the choice. Moo, Shikuchi's ahead, gets a little bit of right-click off on ROTK. Both teams kind of dancing back and forth. I'm a little surprised VG looks like they wanted to fight that, turning back around. Now they're going to pursue them out. And here we go. ROTK way up front. Shikuchi's there. Little right click. Down go the Cogs. There's the Unstable Concoction, but the Cogs went down first. So TongFu going to be left wanting as they now retreat.
Moo's actually really hurting on mana, though. He only has 53 mana, getting Cog burned and using 1 Shikuchi, so a little bit of a setback for him. He will get cleared up in the meantime. I totally agree with you about those points on Shadow Fiend. I think he's actually very bad in a 3-on-3 situation. I think he's great on a 3-on-1 just because he can still get the experience that he needs with the 2 heroes zoning the enemy hero out as well as pulling in the meantime, but he does need levels so badly. It looks like he may be in XTT. That is some super ballsy play.
And Fenrir's right there. Yeah, XTT's just saying the hell with it, man. Naga has yet to place a point. Here comes the Enigma. FY spotting him out. XTT, the Pied Piper of the first creep wave. He's going to be hemmed up a little bit. Here he has Tangos if he needs to eat his way through. And he's like, yeah, no, it's fine. He's going to be ensnared. Here comes the Shadow Fiend. Has yet to place a point either. We'll get a right click off, but Shadow Fiend's right click before he gets any stacks in the Necromastery. Pretty much like being given a spank by someone with broken arms, more or less. But nonetheless, XTT does manage to go ahead and finally conclude his journey in the safety of the lane.
Actually, I think it was smart by him. I didn't really take a good look at Vici's triple lane, but Nagasar, Shadow Fiend, and Enigma, what are they going to do? Like, he's not going to skill level 1 Malefice. They'll just set his jungling back so far. Fenrir can get ensnared, but they don't have any damage. We're talking about a level 1 Shadow Fiend with no souls and no Riptide, so it was very smart by him. He has the Stout Shield too. He doesn't have boots, but you can't buy both of those.
And right now, getting a lot of experience. I mean, he's just kind of hanging out in lane at the moment. We can see the Shadow Fiend did clean things up in the jungle. Finally has that point in the Necromastery, so his damage will be going up. And there will come a point where XTT simply cannot afford to come too far forward. But Fenrir, already at level 2, as the Shadow Fiend is yet to rejoin them. 1 ensnare plus a Shadow Raise and a few right clicks of max Necromastery with 1 or 2 points into it will be quite a danger. But for now, nice start for him.
Yeah, this is good for Vici. I think Shadow Fiend being in a 1-on-3 is perfectly okay. He's sitting at level 2 right now. Zoe, in the meantime, the top lane has actually not gone for a Grievous Greed build in a 3-on-1 situation, though. This probably means that he's looking to get active and get active early. We may see the early Treads build come out of him. I personally like Treads more than Phase Boost. It synergizes better with his ultimate because it reduces his base attack time and it gives him more HP. Phase Boost gives you more move speed, but when you get like netted by Naga Siren, Black Cold, sometimes hook shot into a cog, you don't really need move speed. You just need HP and damage.
See, a little bit of lag issues coming back. We had this towards the tail end of our series last weekend.
Oh, we see a smoke from behind. We see Sanshang on Nyx Assassins, DSMJ with the Centaur creep on the Chen. They're wrapping around, looking to get a kill on ROTK. He is level 3 right now with level 1 cog.
And they're going to go for it. Moving around the back. Do apologize for the lag. Obviously, Perfect World server is not always perfect when you're casting from the west. He will be eating the Unstable Concoction, eating the way through. The Centaur's right there. There's an Impale Centaur. Doesn't have enough mana for a Stomp. Doesn't need it. First Blood goes to ZSMJ. And, that's something we didn't talk a whole lot about in the post-game of Game 1. ZSMJ really had a great showing on that Windrunner. And that's going to be a storyline that I think is worth watching as we see a little bit of trading here in mid. Super staying right on him. He's going to have Breathe Fire right now. He's going to run. No! Did not manage to get out of the way. Super. Just judging it correctly and getting off the Dragon Tail and some right clicks plus one last Breathe Fire after a bottle charge. 1-1 now.
Yeah, that was. I think he just underestimated the damage output of those illusions. Super also picked up boots like right before too, and his illusions didn't actually pick up the boots too. But having the move speed on his own hero, just getting that one last right click off before the breathe fire certainly helped out. I've always had issues with the skill name breathe fire. I think it was breath of fire in Dota 1,
Yeah.
but the name of the skill is just boggles my mind.
One of those funny things where it's like,
Yeah.
what are we going to call one? Snare throw net now? Is that how it's going to work?
Clockwork shoot hook. I don't know. I'm surprised they haven't changed it, but it's a good joke. XCT in the meantime, second line Ancients though. We already see a triple stack, so he's doing very well. He's level 4.5, going for the early Soul Ring Ancient build. I fully suspect that Vici will know that something's up when he's missing that lane. They have the Observer Ward over here. They can kind of steal this stack once Dragon Knight hits level 11, but until then, they're just going to have to rely on maybe like a lot of Eidolons and or Shadow Fiend with the presence of the Dark Lord to take it down, but it's still going to be a while. If TongFu can pick that up, that's definitely a big boon to XTT.
Coming back for a moment to the way Zoe has built this Alchemist, you mentioned it, then I think we got sidetracked with a smoke ganker. Something like that. This is kind of what I expected, and I mentioned this during the draft, is just looking at the lineup. Whenever you have a Chen in your lineup again, you usually want to build a lineup that goes guns forward. You just get in lane, you march towards the tower, and then you make them engage through Chen creeps and everything else to try and come at you as you try to whittle the tower down. And seeing him not put any more than 1 point in the Grieval's Greed, at least as of right now, again, I think kind of jives with that. I think we are going to see him get out and active very, very quickly. He's already got his treads up, so it is going to be a build that's much more predicated on survivability than damage output initially. Doesn't mean he won't just tack on a Shadow Blade and look to go fight real soon.
Yeah, 2-2, like if he gets BKB first, he's going to lack in like split push and just utility in general, but Alchemist can just certainly shut down a Shadow Fiend, and 2-2 on Shadow Fiend is actually one of those heroes that can keep up with Alchemist with the Grieval's Greed. Shadow Fiend just farms like an absolute beast once he gets that level 4 rates, especially if people are juggling for him, or stacking for him rather. Speaking of the jungle, FY just on his own right now, almost level 6, so we're seeing a pre-level 6 or pre-6 minute level 6 I think on him, and that's going to be really good for him. They can get another kill on Mu if Super just lands a stun. It looks like TongFu doesn't actually have a ward up in the middle lane, but we see two heroes rotate there, Sangshan and ZSMJ, the roaming duo. Looks like they're trying to get a kill on ROTK.
Up, went back for the DD. It might end up getting him killed. He got netted. Now there's the Impale to follow the Stomp, and yep, just enough damage to clean him up. TongFu finding another kill, and again, a little bit of greedy play there out of our Rattle Trap as he turned to go back for a rune and ended up paying with his life. 6.5 minutes in, give or take. We can see the goal graph looks violent. But
Oh,
really
he's
both
TPing
teams
top. Oh, I thought that Zoe was about to initiate on him, but ROTK, he can't stand up here at this point. He's level 3. He was level 3 when he died over here, by the way. That was first blood, and that was a few minutes ago, so he's just not getting the experience at levels that he needs. He has his boots and stout shield, but at the same time, he really needs shoot hook as soon as possible.
shoot hook. TongFu looking to take our first tier 1 down off the board. And looks like they're going to do so without being contested, and they will, as Alchemist takes the last hit on the tower. A little extra gold to go in his pocket. Checking in on our buddy Shadow Fiend down at bottom. Maxing Shadow Rays and Necromastery, as one is wont to do on Shadow Fiend in professional games. Has up his shreds and a Bassi so far, but, you know, really the two key items on any Shadow Fiend, the BKB and a Shadow Blade, one or the other, usually enough if you want to go with something more situational. But as of right now, I feel like we're going to start to see TongFu really begin pressuring him. He has been left relatively to his own devices. He is sitting second in terms of last hits and denies. Number 1 is Enigma, but that's bloated a bit just by virtue of him being a jungler. But having the mech now done on Chen, just completed it. Yeah, I think TongFu has everything they need to go ahead and start just trying to collapse on this bottom lane. And VG's very aware of this. We now see 4 members of their team occupying this Radiant jungle.
This is a ridiculously effective Chen by CSMJ. We've seen Chen hit or miss a lot of times in D2L in the Eastern Division, especially by LGD International's Mystery, but this is how Chen should be played. Getting first blood, getting your tower in the lane, getting almost level 6 and a mech in 8 minutes, that is just absolutely ridiculous.
Couldn't agree more. And he's even got 2 good creeps if they want to go ahead and try to go for something here. Got a Centaur
Look at this huge stack. This is a 5 stack already.
Wow. It's quite large. And with the mech, and as you mentioned, as soon as the SMJ hits 6, they can take that actually at this level. Big as it is, they can just about do it. So
yeah,
we see a little bit of VG coming forward. Looks like they do decide to go ahead and back up, and TongFu actually has separated back out. I think they're going to want level 6 on Son Sheng before they really commit to getting super active, but he's already level 5 or roughly so. So not too much longer until they're ready to get him involved as well.
Moo trying to put a lot of pressure in mid. He has illusion runes. They can definitely do it with Zoe with his acid spray, as well as XCT with the axes, but they need soul ring up. He has his money right now for it. He has 475, enough for the ring of regen as well as his soul ring recipe, but looks like they really want to kill Tutu. Is he going to get roared?
There's the unstable concoction. Down goes the acid spray. Roar's there to follow it up with the Hawk keeping close watch. Test of faith. Plus one more right click brings him down. In the meantime, in mid, we see a gank attempt underway as FY and Fenrir are under cover of dust. And they will go ahead and have it popped off. This tier 1 tower will end up dropping. Moo is safely behind the trees. Does have enough for time lapse and for Shikuchi. So they will end up trading tier 1 for tier 1. The tier 1 mid dropping quite a bit more quickly than the tier 1 bottom, but really don't think they're going to want to take a fight at this stage anyway.
Yeah, it's not a great trade for TongFu. They get Shadow Fiend and they lose a T1 in the process. But this mid T1 is pretty important. And at the same time, they're getting level 6 on Sean Sheng. He's 5.5 right now. So I guess all in all, it's pretty good for them. ZSMJ doing some war duties. He doesn't even need boots right now. Fenrir, not even close to level 6, just sitting at level 4 right now. FY is a hero that we haven't really seen anything out of. I'm actually surprised he didn't go for a mech after his soul ring. He actually went for power treads instead of just sitting on brown boots. I think he needs to have more of an impact too in this early game. If they would just wanted to play like this, you just pick Furion. But Enigma is the early fighter. He is the early pusher, and they need to utilize the hero a little bit more.
Son Sheng has hit level 6, has Vendetta and a freshly finished set of Arc boots. There's a Soul Ring finally done on the Beastmaster as well. So I'll be shocked if TongFu doesn't really start to commit to some fights very soon. In fact, taking a look at Zoe, he's got 2,100 gold in the bank, so not very far from having a Shadow Blade. Maybe that'll be their go item. But in the meantime, I really think they've got everything they need. I mean, even the Weaver, who did okay in mid, didn't win it by any stretch, only 37 last hits as we look at 10.5 minutes in, so a big win for the Dragon Knight. Played by
like
Super.
A smoke's about to happen. They're all gathered up right now. TongFu, all they need to do right now is just kill Shadow Fiend. If they kill Shadow Fiend like 2 or 3 times and he delays BKB by like 5 or 10 minutes, that's pretty much game. So Vici really has to make something happen right now. Get them black holes, get level 6 of Nagasana so you can set up for the black holes and into a really nasty Requiem. Son Sheng smoked and Vendetta behind the T1 tower.
Here we go. They're going to try to engage. FY caught out. Will be engaged upon. There's an ensnare on the Zoe. Black hole's going to be there. Caught a bunch of them. Can they follow it up? A lot of lag here in this team fight, so much apologies. Unfortunately, the Perfect World server is giving us some troubles again. Zoe gonna be tracked down as he tried to make his escape, and ROTK is there as well. Super manages a double kill, make it a triple kill with one good breathe fire. And it looks like the servers have stabilized just in time for the fight to end. But 4-4 following that engagement, so an ill-advised smoke, and that's kind of what I was expecting. TongFu to get aggressive, just really not picking their shot very well there, and what looked to be a phenomenal black hole coming out of our Enigma, really what ended up swinging that. FY continues to just be a dominant force on the map. We saw how good he was last weekend and has continued to play remarkable here into our second weekend.
Yeah, that was just exactly what they needed. I'm surprised that TongFu actually smoked like behind the tower. That's a very difficult position to be in. It's like you can't really retreat to the right, you'll be under the T1. You can't retreat down. That's just the worst possible scenario. And if you retreat uphill, you're just going to leave your team behind. So they were forced to clump up right here with their mass melee lineup onto Enigma, get black hole. If they just push down mid from various angles, they can't really get black cold like that, and they can keep a couple supports around in here if they want to play super aggressively. So they have to watch their positioning a little bit more. TongFu does tend to draft very low range heroes more often than not. Last game we saw Alchemist, Spirit Breaker, and Troll Warlord. This game we see Alchemist, Nyx Assassin, and Beastmaster as their melee heroes, but Vici has their fair share too.
Very nice little touch there from the Haz as we wait for both teams to get ready to fight again. The question was, nice little trivia, we can chime in on this too, Merlini, is right now, pretty sure it was Beastmaster is one of only 4 heroes to have built a Soul Ring 100 times in competitive Dota. Name the other 3, I should say. I'm going to go with
100 or 100% of the time. Wow.
No, 100 times.
100 times. Okay.
Enigma. Yeah. So I'm going to go with Beastmaster. I'm going to go with Tinker. And who else? I'll let you go ahead and add one. I want to say those are my 2, 3. Hang on.
Definitely.
Roar on the XY as they follow it up. Caught dead to rights, cleaned up. There's the Naga sleep. Let's see if they want to initiate off of this. They're coming in. He's got the ulti. This is Chansey from VG. Ulti goes off. Zoe does manage to get away. Nice impale, though. Now 2-2 re-engage. Look at the damage from the Axis. San Sheng will be able to make it away under cover of Vendetta. Super being tracked down as well. They do get the Shadow Fiend again. That's a double kill for ZSMJ of all heroes coming out of this fight. That was ballsy from the beginning, losing the Enigma, who, if I'm not mistaken, he had Black Hole on cooldown anyway. So VG very much should have been in, that's the thing about the Enigma, why he's not played more often than he is you're very often a slave to his cooldown on Black Hole. Having that down, you'd think they'd be in full defensive mode, especially after losing a hero who could still have contributed Malefice and maybe a little extra damage from Eidolons if he found a creep. But TongFu taking a good win there. We're at 14 minutes. We got 12 kills on the board.
Stack right now, too.
Yep.
So much money. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Vici should not fight with Black Hole on cooldown. They either need Black King Bar and Shadow Fiend or Enigma with Black Hole in order to fight. Because I saw Fenrir sleep, I was like, okay, well, he wasted it because the guy's dead. And I saw him run in with Shadow Fiend without a BKB. I'm just like, he's just going to get bursted down. And they traded very, very poor. It looks like 3-for-1 in that fight. And buys TongFu plenty of time to get this Ancient Sight. We should see the gold jump up to actually TongFu's slight favor after this one. And I'm surprised that Vici had the gold lead prior to this.
Yeah, honestly, a lot of that has to do with the dominance of the Dragon Knight in mid, and plus just how quickly Enigma can put together gold in the jungle. I mean, his jungle speed is just silly. But yeah, a big win from Dragon Knight, and DK is playing very, very well, and Super with his inventory beginning to swell a bit as he already has an Ogre Club to go with his Shadow Blade Treads and that bottle. He is level 11, so he does have level 2 Elder Dragon form, so not only a dot that he can use to push towers and do damage in team fights, but an AoE dot at this point. But at 15 minutes in, TongFu, I feel like that loss between Tier 1 and Tier 2 mid really set them back, and they're going to need to get something else done pretty soon. And not to say that they lose the game if they don't, but to really get some more out of ZSMJ, who to this point has really had such a great game.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. Moo looks like he's about to get on top. Super already with the Shadow Blade, and ROTK hits a big hook shot, finally.
ROTK getting a bit of redemption as he tracks down the bug. Well shot hook. In the meantime, though, TongFu says that's fine. We'll trade you a Weaver who is already behind anyway if we can get a Roshan. They are going to go ahead and try to take a Tier 1 off of it as well. The right-click potential from 2-2 and Super going to make short work of this Tier 1. And they're going to have to hustle on this Roche. They've only got him down to about 3/4 health.
Oh, there's the rocket.
Yep. Spotted out, and they're going to end up walking away with nothing to show for this. TongFu, who looked so good early, is really just being outplayed by VG at the moment. No other way to say it.
It was totally the big turning point was this T1 and T2 gang, but VG playing very well right now. That should be the BKB up in Shadow Fiend very, very soon, and things are looking very troublesome for TongFu, who had a very significant lead. Chen has kind of just taken the back foot right now. He lost all his creeps and the momentum right here in the mid lane. They have to get all 3 creeps back and then get some more vision around the map. So it set them back just a lot more than a couple of kills. The momentum completely lost to Shadow Fiend, 200 gold into his BKB, and they're trying to kill him, but they did a very good job of keeping him down early after his 42 and 24 start in creep score. He's 0-2 and 5 right now, but they're just unable to kill him a couple more times, and that's really Shadow Fiend's weakest point is his early game, and they can't really do anything about it. 1v3 situation with the offlane Beastmaster, I understand that, but after that, when they kill him once and then they kill him after the Naga Siren Sleep, they have to keep the pressure up.
We can see they're taking yet another stack here, and TongFu now going to be up a competing mechanism. It's FY finally did get it done. TongFu, are they going to smoke into the pit or are they going to smoke elsewhere? They got the Hawk moving out all on his lonesome. And there comes the Rocket to check. That's going to be checking the Radiant side jungle. They're going to go in a Roshan.
Checking the wrong place. I think the 2 most consistent players on VG are Super and FY. Super, even though his team wasn't doing too well last game, his team wasn't doing too well. Kunkka, he still got Phase and Shadow Blade, and he had some pretty nice X's to set up fights and Torrent boat combos. And FY just a very solid support. I believe we saw him on Wisp, was it? I don't know. Maybe something like that last week, but I remember him having a very, very good performance. Maybe it was Enigma again.
TongFu does manage to grab themselves an Aegis. 2,600 gold already back in the bank of Zoe. And at this point, he can go straight up Basher if he wants. And that's going to present some big problems for that Dragon Knight, even with Elder Dragon form to help him fight. Because when you look at the damage, I mean, he or the Shadow Fiend, either one. And Chin, I love this pickup so much. ZSMJ grabbing up that medallion, little minus armor that'll help them against Roshan later on. But more importantly, they're going to be able to blow 2-2 up and at least somewhat mitigate that huge armor advantage Super's going to have from Dragon Blood. So they're just doing the little things, getting these items that are going to allow their damage dealers in Weaver and Alchemist to just take those heroes off the board much more quickly and much more efficiently.
Alchemist has a Shadow Blade, but he needs his BKB if he wants to compete in this fight. I think if he goes in, he's just going to die. Oh, actually, he has the Aegis of the Immortal, but unfortunately, he won't have Chemical Rage up for round 2 if he manages to revive in the fight. Mu just split pushing top, but no tower in sight 2 or 3 screens away, so I don't think that he can put enough pressure on the T2 for them to TP back. Naga Siren could just go in and sleep right now, and then if they set up for a hold, things could be really, really bad for them.
And once again, some lag. I'm actually perhaps in the process of disconnecting from this game as I've got the warding up at the top. And let's see. Well, looks like there is a fight taking place. Merlini, if you're caught up, you commentated.
Sure. Mu's just pushing top, and looks like TongFu has delayed long enough with the help of ZSMJ's Wildkin. And mid lane, TongFu's just pushing out, and Vici have just split to the Radiant jungle, just farming up. So they were trying to gather up for 5-man, but TongFu able to delay it. They're not really that strong right now, even with the recent Aegis pickup. They just need one more item on Alchemist. He has 3,500 gold. He could go a Basher if he thinks he can actually keep it on. He could go BKB, but that will leave him vulnerable to getting soloed out while Song of the Siren is going on. So item choices are not terribly easy for Alchemist right now. Usually we see BKB, but this may not be the game.
Well, everything did come back together. Thankfully, didn't miss too big of a fight, it doesn't seem. But yeah,
no fight missed.
Awesome. So it's weird. It comes and it goes. It's just something to do with the connection to the Perfect World servers, and we just hope that it doesn't continue to be some kind of an issue. 20 minutes in, very close game so far. Taking a look at the gold graph, we can see less than 1,000 gold separating these two teams with less than 1,000 experience as well. VG looking to go ahead and put themselves in the lead if they can bring down this tower. And
Lift is up, but they're going to use it. It just looks like it's just going to be delayed 5 seconds without actually having a defense mounted up. So both heroes just split pushing the side lane, and so actually TP'd inside, so teammates will, or enemy team will know that he's coming back. Mu just split pushing top though. Looking at his items, he's actually very underfarmed too. 1 and 3 on him. So we just see Weaver not being very impactful in any of these games.
Yeah, I completely agree. I feel like teams are beginning to adapt to the heroes played so often now, picked and run in so many situations. We saw him mid here. That's probably one of the rarest situations you see him run. Much more common to see him in the off lane or leading an offensive tri lane, occasionally being defensively tri lane. But I just feel like a lot of teams, even West East altogether, have learned how to deal with the hero much better than they did, say, going back a few months when we really saw him become popular and become such a very common pick. TongFu going to go ahead and get aggressive again as they cross the river, dropping a ward into Sentry. They know they haven't been spotted.
Very smart ward here by VG, though.
Didn't even see that ward, so they have been spotted as they came across.
Oh, they dropped the Sentry, but they don't actually see the ward, though.
Yep. The range on that Sentry, not nearly big enough. So they were spotted, and yeah, I didn't even notice. VG, though, with the heads up, staying safe.
Yep, just chilling there. So TongFu seems pretty content to farm, but I don't think that's. I mean, it's not ideal for them. They'd ideally not have like Shadow Fiend and Dragon Knight other team. They may be like competing for farm, but Alchemist and Weaver I think are much more under farm compared to those two cores on VG. Looking at net worth graph right now, DK is about 500 gold ahead of Alchemist, and Shadow Fiend is about 1,300 gold ahead of the Weaver, and they really need to close that gap in between those two net worths. Looks like combined net worth about 19,000 for those two heroes and 17,000 for TongFu. So they just have a few thousand gold lead to make up. But Weaver really needs his BKB either. But BKB, it's like he's going to get, if he gets Dragon Tail before, like if he gets Shadow Blade initiated on, he's still going to die. And Naga Siren Sleep, he isn't really going to be able to do that much on his lonesome either. So I myself would maybe prefer a Lincoln on here. It would prevent ensnare as well as a Dragon Knight Stun. Dragon Knight Stun is the biggest thing he has to worry about, though.
I'll tell you what, this is going to be a game with a lot of BKBs in it. We can already see 4 are complete. 1 is already in being made by FY to go along with those. And yeah, I mean, at this point, it looks like XTT has added a point booster to his inventory, so he will be looking to get an Ags up. But right now, Super and company looking to maybe make something happen here. They were smoked up, and instead they're just going to kind of wait and bait this out. However, TongFu, now they're going to be spotted, and Zoe coming very close. Has to be sent back. Songxin caught with the hook from ROTK, drops the cogs, and that's going to be enough to run them out.
Worse by XTT there. But that was so close. I thought that Zoe was going to die.
And we can see the tier 1 bottom will be the prize claim. The Aegis is going to be reclaimed here, so they actually got nothing out of it. And here we go. They're going to push on through. Zoe is there. Aegis is gone. BKB is fresh on both sides. 2-2 with a Yasha to go with his BKB as well, so going to be a little tougher to chase down. Super eats an unstable concoction in the face. Songxin throws out the impale. There's this. Oh, wow.
Sleep. This is a 5-man black hole coming up.
They're going to overlap it perfectly, and wonderfully played by VG. What can you say? Naga plus Enigma. The combination that still perfectly overlaps doesn't hurt. To have 2-2 using Requiem on top of it all. Just a complete wipe of TongFu. The Weaver actually is still alive, but yeah.
Might be a T3 too.
Weaver did manage to track down poor Clockwork there. But in the meantime, TongFu, who took a very solid Game 1 win, falling behind quite a bit here in Game 2. They lose the Tier 3 bottom. Are they going to sell out? Nope, they're going to play safe. Moo's right behind him. He has a haste. And unable to catch anyone with the unstable concoction. They do manage to keep the racks up, though.
Like, we've seen Enigma Naga Siren before. It's not like it's something new.
Right.
And they just like clumped. They were so close together. They were like all right here within that small circle, and they just can't let that happen. They have to watch their positioning a little bit more. And sure, they have a few melee heroes, but that is no excuse for 4 people getting caught by Black Hole. Absolutely none.
I completely agree. I mean, you just have to be aware of that whenever you're up against a Naga Siren. And like you said, it's not like it's an unknown variable or something RNG based or anything like that. If you're going to defend that tower, and we talked about this, I mean, the lineup they drafted is very much a guns forward lineup, and we knew coming in that VG was going to have to really abuse initiation advantage because they do have a ton of it. They do have Enigma, of course. They have the Clockwork Hook as well as Naga Sirens and Snare, to say nothing of Song, and they just really got the job done. And TongFu really just let it happen. They just, as you said, went through a bit of a mental lapse, and looks like they want to make up for it now as they've smoked up. They're moving across the river on into the Radiant side jungle. However, they're going to find a Vici Gaming team that is totally clumped as 5. So if they're going to fight, they're going to have to fight 5-on-5.
Sunshine just narrowly dodged a Sentry Award, just taking that path around there. They may find FY here. He does have a BKB, though. I think he can just BKB and run away. Oh, actually, nope. They have Roar.
Still chasing him down. Songshung's got viewed on him. And there's the Vendetta, the immediate impale afterwards. Here comes the unstable concoction. Can they get him down? Will he? Yep. No BKB. Fast enough. Overlapping the stuns perfectly. There's an ensnare on the Zoe. They want to re-engage. Song is up in 40 seconds. Ghost Scepter is up on the Naga, by the way. She needs to stay alive. Looks like Vici not happy to engage with Enigma, not there to help.
Oof. TongFu, they have to split push pretty soon because Enigma, once he revives, he'll have Black Hole up in 10 seconds. They cannot afford another team wipe. One more team wipe like that will just blow the game wide open. So Moo, having his BKB, he needs a TP scroll. They just need a split push, try and dodge ganks as possible. He needs to constantly move around when he pushes so that if Clockwork hooks him, he can time lapse out of the cogs and not get trapped in there with him. Other than that, just do the same thing, Ancient Stack, farm up and AC on Alchemist, but most importantly, split up during team fights. And it's also on ZSMJ too, because Enigma has a BKB now. He has a Troll Netter. If that Troll Netter can stand outside of the Black Hole and net him during the BKB, that'll just completely change the fight around. So it's really on ZSMJ's shoulders to interrupt it. XET can like kind of stay out of the fight, but they're going to be looking at him. They'll kind of like ignore the Troll just because people are just like whatever about Chen creeps 30 minutes in, so they'll be looking to shut down the long range disablers. So ZSMJ maybe needs to pick up another Troll, but he has to be very cognizant of his positioning, Enigma's positioning, Naga Siren's positioning, as well as his own teams.
Well, I'll tell you what's happening is this Shadow Fiend is getting a little bit large and in charge. He just finished a Manta style, and he's got damn near 1,000 gold on top of that extra. And that Manta coming out gives him more survivability, gives him more damage, and so on and so forth. But I'm beginning to worry that TongFu has really just let 2-2 farm too freely for too long. We're coming up on 30 minutes now. We can see by net worth, he's not topping the charts or anything. He's sitting there right below the Alchemist, but that's kind of the problem. Zoe, at this point, almost level 16, has 4 points in the Grievel's Greed. And the Shadow Fiend is basically one flash farm away from being able to beat him in total farm, with the Dragon Knight sitting on top, and of course played by Vici as well. So TongFu really just hasn't gotten the work done I feel like they needed to, and now with Shadow Fiend hitting even harder, hitting for 211 damage now with 36 stacks in the Necromastery, to say nothing of the armor reduction that comes off of Presence of the Dark Lord. I really worry that TongFu, if they get caught out of position one more time, is just going to evaporate and end up losing a set of racks.
Yeah, I think they should have played it much similarly to last game, how they ganked with Spirit Breaker constantly. They can gank with Zoe. He has Shadow Blade. They can gank with Nyx Assassin too. They have Beastmaster. They have the lineup to make things happen and just keep VG constantly on their toes and in a defensive position and just force them to 5-man. But I feel like they haven't been doing it this game, and VG has been taking complete advantage of that.
We can see a little bit of unknowing dancing here. Zoe under cover of Shadow Blade. Very close to having that smoke popped if he turns around now with XTT there. XTT hanging around. They're going to spot him. They're going to go for it. Super blows the Elder Dragon for him. He's undercover. Oh, hook off the mark. Another miss from the clock. XTT will end up paying the price nonetheless. Might have been able to get 2 if ROTK lands that hook nonetheless. Big pick there. 40 seconds down for that Beastmaster. Can he buy back? He can if they really want to, but it looks like Roshan's going to be the goal, not the racks.
Yep, I don't really think they can really contest Roshan right now. Oh, no, with the Beastmaster buyback, they can. Hellbear Smasher in there, we'll scout it out. They know what's going on, but they don't have any vision inside the pit. Zoe is going to go in, but if Naga's
good BKB! BKB to wait. Can they? He didn't black hole. They didn't overlap it correctly. So nonetheless in some trouble. Will be pulling back. Hand of God and the mech both use super. Moves forward way out in front. We'll go after CSMJ. Moose doing some decent damage. There's some breathe fire damage as well as the AoE coming off of the level 3 Elder Dragon form. San Shang down as well. They pick off the 2 supports. And yeah, that was a little bizarre actually. FY used his BKB to avoid the unstable concoction, which was fantastic. Then the Naga Sleep was there. He could have overlapped and gotten at least 3 with the black hole while the BKB was still active, but whatever reason decided not to. Still has it at his disposal, and now an Aegis going into the back pocket of Tutu. Not a bad day's work if you're a VG fan.
VG is feeling very comfortable right now. Tutu will have his Chrysalis if he wants to do that. They have an exposed Rax on bottom on the side of TongFu, and their farm is just a little bit lackluster. Alchemist is fairly close to his Assault Key Res, but Super is just balling out of control with his net worth, and I really feel like we haven't been talking too much about Super, but he's 10-0-3. He's been involved in every single kill, and it's not like they've been like stacking Ancients and stuff for him. At least I haven't seen that, but I mean, Super is playing a fantastic Dragon Knight, and I think it really did set up with that 1 kill on Moo in mid. And Moo, 2, 3, and 3 is just night and day difference, the farm on those 2 heroes. We're seeing a 6,000 gold difference in between those 2. And yeah, sure, his team a lot to do with it, especially the 5-man black or 4-man black hole plus Song of the Siren. But yeah, Weaver just not being played as effectively as he once was. And I do agree with you that teams have just been adapting much better to him.
Got a Deso on the way. Only needs about another 150 gold or so, but going to be 150 gold late as this Rax is now under assault. They will go ahead and glyph it. Could be midnight hour for this TongFu squad in game 2. They need a win here. Cannot afford to lose another Rax. Super will be caught with the unstable concoction, but the siege remains on. And the Rax is going to end up dropping. Whoa, wow. Ensnare actually tracks Moo down after the time lapse. BKB's up all over the place. Here comes the Requiem. It's going to be there. The supports have to run as the damage is too high. Zoe going toe-to-toe with ROTK and Super. Just not tanky enough, and that'll be your GG. 32 minutes, the time it took him, and I hear in 1 black hole. That's a celebratory black hole as FY doing his best DJ impersonation with the biggest spinning disc you ever did see. 32 minutes, 15-9, my friend, and TongFu drops game 2. We're going to a game 3. And we can see the chat trivia answer. I like that. Darkseia and Enigma and Tinker. So, yeah, the Brood and Brood by the way. That was the other one. So, actually, I guess Beastmaster, but not the case. Nonetheless, we see game 2 go into the books. Merlini, break it down, my friend. I mean, we saw TongFu's plan begin to materialize a number of times. In fact, that they looked to be ahead at more than 1 point in that game, but Vici just had the goods and had it when it mattered.
Yeah, the other 4 players, Super Fenrir, FY, and TongFu just played phenomenally in the first like 10 minutes of the game. ROTK, he died twice, but after that, the whole team just picked it up. It really started with that one smoke kick into the T1 and T2. TongFu just getting a little bit too over-aggressive, overconfident, and it really cost them. 2-2 just farmed like absolute madman. Sure, he was 2-2-10, not the best score in Shadow Fiend, but he had just insane amounts of farm, very great experience per minute, and the Nagasara Enigma combo a little bit too strong. Maybe just ban out Nagasara so you don't have to deal with that.
No joke, my friend. That one black hole behind that tier 2 really did take a game in which Vici was already a little bit ahead, and really, I would say that just about put it completely out of reach. They just got way too much out of it, and TongFu struggled from that point on. Again, 15-9, the final kill score, the official game time, 32 minutes and 7 seconds. Game 3 coming up next. I'm your host, Aaron AC Chambers. Thank you for tuning in to the HyperX D2L Season 4. Keep in mind, this is just our first best of 3 of the night. Got 2 more ahead, so if you haven't grabbed a beer and settled in, you damn well should, because we got a hell of a Game 3. And then again, 2 more phenomenal series capping off with a meeting of our 2 leaders right now in our 3rd series of the night. That'll be LGD taking on TongFu. TongFu gonna hope to go into it, the undisputed leaders, with a win here today. Vici Gaming, though, wants to make sure they keep from dropping below 500. We'll be right back with Game 3 after this brief break. Stick with us.